Right, intro to this video then. What are we out in the Mazda, Steve?
It's way less cylinders than normal.
6 if you really count them properly. 6 fun rotaries. 2 rotors, but yeah, anyway. So, this video, we're actually out in the Mazda because something has died in the air vent in it, and it stinks when you have the fan on, so anyone who owns a rotary or knows anything about them, you do not move them 3 foot, 10 foot, because they just foul themselves up. So we're just warming up so we can move it and then interrogate the dead thing. But in this video, there won't be any rotary action really.
Or any dead things, hopefully.
Or any dead things, yeah. We've got a Land Rover 110 that we're doing cam change on. We go and look at a couple of engines Holly's building. Very special one we're going to be building up in the next episode, not this one though. We've got Cobra come in. What else, Steve, remind me?
I don't know because I wasn't listening. What have we got? RV8, TR8,
RV8, TR8 as well. TR8 is ridiculously fun on greasy roads.
Well, I'll hear him before I see him.
But yeah, so here we go. Right, off in this 110 then.
Are you sure it's a 110?
I did create a bit of controversy, just hold your hand up to another 110, but on Facebook, because I did call it a Defender. Of course it's not, and it's not stage 1 either, it's purely a Land Rover 110, 1983. But I left the name Defender in there to see how many eagle-eyed people would spot it, and several of you did. Rather than editing it and covering up my mistake, which I could have done, but hey ho.
That's what I'd have done.
Yeah, well, thought I'd give everyone a giggle. Much like me going for 5th gear, realising it's on a different gear stick in this car. So this 110 is in for carburettor and ignition upgrade. It's currently on twin Stromberg carburettors. The customer does a lot of motorway miles and is looking for reliability and long-term future-proofing. So hang on, just going to go for 5th. That's this one here. Another lever.
Yeah, there's many levers down there.
Future-proofing. So you know, if in the future maybe cylinder head camshaft changes, the Weather 500 will adapt or can be calibrated for those far better and allow the full potential of a camshaft change or any cylinder head change later on. Potentially this vehicle might get a larger capacity engine as well. However, it is a matching numbers vehicle, so the customers are aware, you know, it can be worthwhile retaining the original engine, so it's got the original engine number, or actually sticking with a 3.5. But everything on the road test seems nice and quiet. It actually drives incredibly nicely. And oh, you know what this means, being a 110 and not a Defender.
What's that?
You can't put the word Defender in the title to boost viewings of the video, which we think works.
Oh, it does work.
Yeah.
What you do is you just put not Defender in the title.
Ah, can you do that?
Yeah.
Well, we'll do that then to see how many views this gets, shall we? Right, so just before we get back to the workshop, one last little, or 2 little notes that we've noted on this road test. One, the heater actually works in this really well.
It does, it's very nice.
I'm actually toasty, I'm almost contemplating taking my hat off, but I've got no idea what state my hair is underneath it, so we'll keep it on. Just open the window and show off. 2, there's a very slight exhaust blow on acceleration, or under load on the engine. You can just hear it, it sounds passenger side to me. But yeah, so very slight exhaust tick, which we'll have a little look for while the vehicle is in the workshop. Although that brings me to another point. We've got a roof tent on the top of this, which means it don't fit in a workshop.
Which means somebody's twin turbo mock-up
is on the ramp with the big door.
Yeah, it's gonna have to move.
Yeah. It's alright, it's not raining. It ain't cold, we've already said that.
Just finish it quick, mate. Get it running.
Right, back to the Batcave. Under the bonnet then, which Steve can now see because I've released him from the Land Rover.
Yeah.
You were having issues there, weren't you?
I forgot the rule of if it doesn't work, shove it.
Yeah. So yeah, the twin Strombergs, customer's going to keep these again for originality of the car. They're going to be boxed up. He's going to retain them. Somebody has already fitted these Canon cone filters and got rid of the original air filter box, unfortunately. This is obviously all going. Edelbrock 4-barrel carburetor on there with our needle and jet profiles in them. And the ignition system, at some point it was running lumination. Thankfully that was removed. And then a standard distributor has been fitted in place. So we can apply our upgrades to that. So we'll be going Magnacore plug leads and our RPI amplifier. We do have a nice little bracket or choice of brackets up here for our amplifier. Bosch coil and our cap and rotor arm that we've carefully selected over the years to know that they're good, reliable parts. So we'll get started on this now. And yeah, that's that really. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I'm guessing lots of people are probably going to go, oh, illumination, yeah, it works great on my car. We've got nothing against lots of aftermarket ignition systems in terms of what they are stated as doing. Products like that and several others on the market were designed to remove points from distributors, and they do that very well. They've got a pickup unit, either optical or magnetic, inside the distributor cap to replace the points, and they change over to an electronic ignition system. That's great. It takes any serviceability out of the distributor, makes things more reliable for you. However, as we've said time and time again, we're looking at getting a bigger spark, and with our amplifier we get a bigger spark for a longer duration, and that is bigger over lumination, bigger over all the other styles of electronic ignition system we have seen, where you change internals and that sort of thing. Even Mallory's that we used to sell, who I think have gone bust now. I believe MSD have bought them out, but I stand corrected on that if I'm wrong. But even we've upgraded from Mallory Unilights to the ignition system we now run with the RPI amplifier that we've been doing for over 22 years now. We still get that bigger spark with the RPI amp on a standard Rover distributor. So that's why we do that. As you can probably see, things have progressed a little bit from just an ignition kit and a carburetor. We pulled the original Strombergs off and could see the camshaft, at which point we spoke to the customer. So if I illuminate the area and Steve comes in, you can see the camshaft is very badly worn. Which picks up quite well, doesn't it?
It does.
Cool. You have got some talents behind a cameraman.
Oh, the camera's got lovely talent as well.
Discussed this with the customer, also looked at the options of replacing the engine as well. But obviously you have to take into consideration budgets and things like that as well. So we're doing a pipe camshaft kit on this. We're also going to inspect and I suspect replace the crankshaft bearings, and we'll be fitting a ARP main stud kit in there when we do that. We're actually going to use a Piper 270 camshaft on this. Customer spends a lot of time on motorways, so a bit more mid-range power is more important than a little bit of bottom end torque gain with the Torque Max. We'll be doing new oil pump gears, rocker shafts and push rods. Obviously a shim kit set tappet preload accordingly as well. If you come back in here, Steve, actually Holly has pointed out to me this is quite a rare block. It's what's known as an AE cast block, and it's quite beefed up. So where we've got the webbing across the valley, you can see in the car here we've got a lot more material. Up around the top of the lifter galleries as well, we've got more material. And whereas when the majority of the early castings, well, all of the castings other than the later Coscast ones on the 4.8s and 4.6s, this area was chiselled out, but in here obviously you can see it's far nicer, it's not been chiselled out. So Holly says to me that he thinks they produced the blocks for about a year and then they went back to the Rover castings, which is a shame really, because this actually looks like a really nice casting. Holly said yeah, it's really nice casting, a bit beefier block. I guess finance has probably brought them back to what we are used to in a 3.5. So, Steve has already pulled the rad obviously and is now ready to remove the rocker assemblies, get them all through the cleaner. inspect the rockers, because we will reuse the genuine rockers, build them up onto new shafts. So I think once we're stripped down and everything's cleaned down, we'll revisit with the camcorder again. Engine building bay then. This is a 3.9 stage 3 engine going over to Germany. You've actually put some pictures of it on Facebook today, haven't you? Well, that won't be today when this video goes out.
It'll be sometime last week, probably.
Or earlier. So yeah, this is destined for Morgan. Actually worth pointing out something on this engine. You'll notice we've got one of the bungs we use for the carburetor on this oil pipe here, which would be for the oil pressure gauge. The reason that's on there is because when Holly builds the engines, he actually primes the oil galleries with oil. So when this is a long engine with the rocker covers off, the oil filter is filled with oil. This is blanked off. Obviously if they have a pressure sensor, we don't need to worry about blanking it off because the sensor is blanking the port. And then down the oil way where the rockers are fed with oil, Holly will pump Valvoline VR1 2050 oil into the oil gallery until it comes out of the head on the other side. Obviously the engine is levelled up for this, which primes most of the oil ways with oil. The oil pump base is already primed with Vaseline, so there's no issue with starting the engine and getting oil pressure. We actually see oil pressure really quickly within a matter of seconds on these engines when we start them. So yeah, that's why that little blue bung is there. So probably no one would have noticed, but they will now. So that's that and where that's heading to. This engine we've seen before, and at some point we will get round to finding the time to bolt some cylinder heads on it and then putting it in our car. This is a 4 litre cross-bolted engine for the dyno test cell. So we build these up in batches of 5 for the customer, or they order in batches of 5. So Holly's now built up the short engine and is now going to install a cam, put the cylinder heads on, and this will then get multiple hundreds, if not thousands of hours on a dyno test cell of torture. And then finally, this engine is destined for Belgium. It's a 4.6, it's actually going out as a short engine. The customer's going to reuse his cylinder heads. We've fitted a 285 camshaft, and Holly is actually in the middle of dialing that in. So he's now at TDC on number 1, and he's set his degree wheel to 0. So he'll now move this the DTI gauge down to the cam lobe, and then dial the cam in. This is destined for a TR7 to 8.
Just give up.
Well, no one caught on with the TR78, so...
Yeah, there's a good reason for that.
Yeah. Right, so that's the engines that are on build at the moment. There's a couple more lined up after this, including a very special one from Morgan, which may be in this video or not. Under the TR8 then, the 4.6 fire breathing TR8, and the gearbox, the RT77 box, has now been completely refurbed. Found the first, second and third, fourth selector forks were really badly worn. The input shaft was badly worn as well and had a lot of free play, so that's all sorted. So all it leaves to do is we've got to get this in there. I think Steve will be around in a minute, but I don't think these two-wheel drive boxes are that heavy, so we'll just sort of get that open.
Someone's sending you a message.
Yeah, I reckon he'll probably use that. Right, let's see when it's in. Right, this morning, which is in the middle of this workshop update, if you edit it that way.
Or maybe it's at the start if I don't.
Oh, yeah. We've got this MG RV8 coming. The customer dropped it off yesterday afternoon, so we had it first thing in the morning. These were a drop-in job for us normally, sort of a 3 to 4 hour labour time on them. Come in for all of our normal correction program, which is ECU chip to correct the fueling, because at the moment this is the 3.9 fuel injected engine that was used in the Range Rover Classic. MG did a different plenum on it and a slightly different front end setup, but they retained the Range Rover fuel map, which means the fueling is totally wrong for this car because there's no weight in this car at all. So the fuel map's way off. So we correct that, which makes them drive fantastically, and upgrade the ignition system to make sure we're getting that nice fat juicy spark to burn the fuel. Couple of checks we always do on them is we always make sure the vacuum advance is functioning properly. So a quick suck on that, stick your tongue on the end, it should stick on your tongue because the diaphragm pulls back, that one's good. Someone has been in here and played with the idle already. I noticed when road testing this beforehand that was the case, because the idle holds quite high. What normally happens on the Jap import models of these, this pipe is actually normally connected round here, and it then has a constant vacuum applied to it. They did that on all the Japanese models, so therefore the vacuum advances in the whole time, and then they retard the timing because of that. People move the vacuum pipe to where it should be, and then adjust the idle accordingly. They forget about adjusting the timing. However, obviously we take care of all of that. In the background, I can hear a rather tasty TR8.
Can we have a go?
Yeah, I think we should head up the road in that for a little road test because it's back on the road. So yeah, Steve's now going to attack this, get our ignition kit on there. Don't trip over that Cobra we're going to film in a minute as well, which you nearly did.
No, it's fine. I'm far too professional for that.
Yeah. So once we've been out in the TR8, we'll come back and see how Steve's getting on with this. Right, well the gearbox is back in, and we've done a full setup on the engine. So we went for a quick road test yesterday, myself and Steve from the workshop, just to make sure the ignition timing was right and everything. And with the conditions we've got with greasy roads at the moment, it's good fun. So let's go. So we're just putting a few miles on this to make sure we've got no oil leaks anywhere underneath, because it's obviously one of the jobs this was in for. But just to demonstrate how much of a waste of time this throttle pedal is today, this is second gear, and I'll give it quarter throttle. It's got an LSD, so I mean it drifts well, but we don't really want that, do we?
Not if we can help it.
So we'll be taking a nice calm 20-mile road trip in, just to get everything up to temperature, and then put it back on the ramp afterwards and make sure there's no oil leaks. Do you know what this reminds me of?
No.
The black Westfield. Toy box Westfield. Which is now sold, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
We tested that on greasy roads as well.
Mm.
That didn't have any traction either.
No! This car is so much fun, but I want a dry road!
It's a little bit misty up here, eh?
It's, yeah. Mist or fog, I never know the difference. Someone will comment and tell us. Right, so that completes our 20-mile road circuit that we have for testing and sort of shaking down cars. So we'll head back to the back cave. This will pop up on the ramp, and we'll just check for oil leaks and things underneath. I have noticed a couple of times the idle has just dipped down a little bit lower than I've really wanted it to when we pulled up to junctions and things like that, which was another thing on customers' list. So we'll just give the throttle a little tweak. Other than that, I think it's job done, and I reckon the customer will be really pleased when he can see where he's going and has some traction.
Which, yeah, might not be anytime soon.
Always detune the 4.6 stage 3 engine to give traction in the wet. You know, just like knock 20 degrees ignition timing out, or lean the fuel
Get out of the
right
car.
off.
Get out now.
Right, let's see how Steve's getting on with the RV8, I reckon.
Out again, Ian.
Yeah, so Steve's finished the MG RV8, and we can now go out and just make sure we're happy with it. Just done a quick road setup on it. We've had to play with the idle a little bit because it was holding its idle high quite extensively before we did the work. So we've set base idle and then just made a small adjustment from there, so it's now spot on. We've got the engine braking we're expecting. The 5th gear test does everything it should ever do. Yeah, so I think we'll just go and abandon you again.
Getting a bit of deja vu here.
Yeah, well at least the fog's lifted now, and yeah, just make sure that we've not got any idle issues when we come up to junctions, because obviously I normally only go out with Steve in the workshop for a quick setup on the road, and then I drop some miles on it afterwards, so Steve can get on with a few things in the workshop. That's how we sort of conduct some of our road testing. And obviously you now come along for the ride to film it.
I do, which you love, I can tell.
Oh yeah. Right, so yeah, this car is doing everything it should be. The throttle now is very smooth, whereas before doing the upgrades on these MG RV8s and organs, etc., all with the same engines in them, the fuel injection system. Before driving, the throttle is not crisp, it's not reactive, not in a lively, big horsepower manner, but in terms of just cruising along like this, you can just press the accelerator, and right now, it just a slightest little touch on the throttle pedal, and it's there, it's smooth and pulling. Whereas before doing the chip and ignition upgrades, you just slightly go to increase the speed, maybe you're following a car and it's just increased speed by a couple of miles an hour. You just go for that, and the car would have this kind of acceleration but then deceleration feel about it, very stuffy.
They sort of pause for thought.
Yeah, it's like it's got a blocked nose. There you are. I've pulled over, Steve.
Yeah, that normally means one of two things.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this time it's the second one.
Yeah.
Out I get then.
Yeah, feet off! Right, that's another one done then. Another one ticked off. Idle's dropping down lovely, as we'd expect. So I reckon 5th gear all the way home. Nice and quiet past this horse that's now about to emerge from the woods.
It's a bit bigger than the squirrels I was watching at the side of the road.
Right, 5th gear back to the workshop then. Back to the workshop then. Steve's been really busy with the 110. Mustn't call it a Defender, Steve. Mustn't call it a Defender. As you can see, everything's stripped down, ready for the new cam install. He's actually been extremely busy because he has now changed all of the crank bearings. Everything other than number 5 mains journal obviously has been changed. You can't do that one with the engine in situ. And an ARP stud kit on the mains has also been installed.
I think you can see if I go down here.
Okay, there we go.
There's one.
Yep. So he's now just taking off the pulse air system. So he's got 5 blanking plugs for this side. Not quite sure where the 5th one's going to go. Hang on. Maybe he's... Nope, there's 4 in that side. So I reckon he's got himself a spare in case he drops one on the floor to save his back from bending down. So that's just going in, and then the Piper cam will go in along with everything else we do, so shim kit, push rods, etc. I think that'll be the last update on this car in this video, because you're telling me this is getting to be quite a lengthy episode.
Yes.
Okay. So we've just got the Cobra to go to, and then that'll be that.
I reckon so.
Right, the Cobra then, you've seen on our Facebook page already in a little photo gallery Steve put up. The customer has been replying to comments on there, people asking what sort of kit it is, what it's based on, etc. Because we don't really know that bit of kit cars so much, we know about this bit under here. Coming for a camshaft change, the customer's already confirmed and posted a video actually in one of the replies on there, showing how little lift cylinder 2 exhaust valve is getting. So Steve is now going to just carry out a compression test and a leak down test as well, just to make sure we don't have any concerns over the valve seat on there, because obviously it's only been opened very fractionally and that cylinder has not been running efficiently for we don't know how long. So Steve will do those tests, we'll crack into the work, and then yeah, let's have a look under the bonnet. Oh, hang on, you're the wrong side of the bonnet, Steve.
Ah, hang on then.